Greetings, and thank you for joining Lost Love Chronicles. Here, we delve into tales of love, heartache, and life's unexpected journeys. Your subscription is invaluable in supporting our work, and we eagerly anticipate sharing more enthralling chronicles with you. My world has been turned upside down after discovering my wife's affair of nearly a year. It's been 27 years of marriage, and the shock of betrayal hit me hard. I initially tried to gather evidence by installing a doorbell camera, but my ex-wife caught on and confessed before I could set up more surveillance. She's offered to be fair in our divorce, including selling our house and splitting the proceeds. While she mentioned alimony, it seems like the debt and house sale will just about even out. I must admit that anger and thoughts of revenge briefly consumed me, but I realized there's no one to expose her to who would care. Her affair partner is single and perhaps more aware of the state of my marriage than I was. Their relationship wasn't close, and I decided not to seek more hurt. This all comes at a challenging time as I'm already dealing with elder care issues, and I simply don't have the energy or desire to fight for anything anymore. We both know there's too much pain and wrong between us, especially since I've been cheated on before, over 25 years ago. Some scars never truly heal. I've started to wonder if my entire relationship with her was a rebound, but I'm someone who commits wholeheartedly when I'm in a relationship. Now, I find it hard to trust anyone again. It's a painful realization, but I don't see myself investing in another relationship. So, here I am, no confrontation, no revenge, no reason to hold on to the past. Just two lies, once entwined, now torn apart. I have to find a way to rebuild myself, although it feels like I'm doing it without my pride and ego. It's another failure in a long list of them in my life. Life as I knew it is over, and I'm navigating it on autopilot. I dread going home but must pack and prepare the house for sale. Then, I have to find an apartment, but I don't even know where I want to live anymore. It all feels so disheartening. I've dedicated more than half of my life to someone, and now there's just a void ahead of me. The only reason I get out of bed is to care for my parent. The mixed feelings of nostalgia for the good times and anger for the betrayal can be overwhelming. I find myself constantly questioning what went wrong and why I feel stuck in the past. It's perplexing because I thought I was ready to move on from this relationship anyway. Many sleepless nights have been spent analyzing everything I did wrong and feeling like I was never good enough for anyone. I wonder why I deserve to be treated this way and why I seem to be the one on the losing end every time. Now, I feel old, broken, and undeserving of this life I'm left with. There are no hopes and dreams, just loneliness in my thoughts. I've also been grappling with the absence of children in our relationship, which, in a strange way, seems like a blessing now. Once the divorce is finalized, I won't have to maintain contact with her, which I hope will bring some relief. Hearing her voice only reopens the wounds, and I'm trying my best to distance myself. My mind races with questions about her actions and why she hasn't reached out since I left. Did she think I would come back? Was our history not enough for her to care? These thoughts haunt me, and the combination of insomnia and heartache is truly unbearable. Last night, she did call, appreciating my apology and acknowledging that some of the things I said were meant to hurt her. We didn't delve into much detail, mostly more apologies and a plea from her to give our relationship one more chance. I told her I'd be returning home this weekend but made it clear that I didn't want her there. It was a somewhat civil conversation, but I also told her I didn't care where she went, even suggesting she stay with her boyfriend if that's what she truly wanted. She denied it, insisting that she wants me back and is willing to do anything to make amends. I'll admit, part of me wishes I could turn back time to any point in the last year to escape this turmoil. My life feels like a never-ending, chaotic drama right now, and I'm struggling to find a way out of it. It was incredibly difficult to hear that she was involved with someone else so frequently during the past year. The shock and hurt from that revelation were overwhelming. I had so many questions, but the pain and shame prevented me from asking more. I wanted to know if he was better in some way, but I couldn't bring myself to ask. I told her again that she should go to him for the weekend so I could be alone at home and gather some more of my important things. I didn't even have a permanent place to take them. After that, I went and got a bottle of good scotch, and now I have to work and take care of my parent while hungover. As we had agreed, I went back to the house to gather some things. Thankfully, she wasn't there when I arrived. I started gathering documents, packing clothes, and other essentials. I was moving faster than I had anticipated, trying to stay positive by wearing my AirPods and playing some good music. While I was in the basement, I faintly heard the sound of water running through the pipes. It took a moment for me to realize what was happening. When I walked upstairs, I heard the shower running in the bathroom. It was my wife. I made myself a cup of coffee and decided it was better for me to go out to my car. At first, I considered driving away, but instead, I just sat there in the driveway, stunned. I started writing a long, angry text, but decided against sending it, not wanting to leave any evidence behind. So, I opted to sit there and wait for her to leave again. As I was sitting there, my new neighbor walked by and introduced himself. We exchanged pleasantries, but I didn't share anything about my situation. Just as we were about to part ways, the garage door opened, and my wife stood behind her car, asking to speak to me. It's understandable, but I didn't want to engage in a lengthy discussion with my wife after her unexpected arrival. The mix of emotions and the painful history between us can make those conversations incredibly difficult to navigate. My decision to firmly decline her suggestion of more counseling and to ask her to leave was a choice I felt necessary to maintain my boundaries and focus on my own needs at this time. It's essential to prioritize my own well-being during this trying period. As for the urn containing our children's ashes, that's undoubtedly a deeply personal and emotional matter. Deciding what to do with it should be a discussion between my wife and me, as it holds significance for both of us. I might want to consider speaking to my attorney about possible options and legal aspects before broaching the subject with my wife. I hope I find the strength and support I need during this challenging period, and that I can avoid turning to my bourbon collection to cope with the pain. Seeking professional help, whether it's through counseling or therapy, could also be beneficial in processing my emotions and navigating the complexities of the situation. The situation on Sunday evening was incredibly tense as I continued packing the last of my belongings into my car, with the intention of leaving for a while. I knew my wife was supposed to return after 9 as we had discussed, and I didn't want to be there when she arrived. Despite the urge to lash out and dismantle electronics or reset the router, I resisted out of a desire to be the bigger person. Around 7 p.m., I was almost finished loading the last bits into my car when she showed up unexpectedly. She came in looking somewhat shaken, but it wasn't anywhere near the state of despair I felt at the time. She started by commenting on how it seemed like I was ready to leave again so early, and she wanted to talk to me. I was already frustrated that she was there and determined to stay strong. I told her I didn't want to be too late, and I had to get back in time to help with my parent over the weekend. I suggested that if there was something important to discuss, she could tell me now, or I could call her while driving. She said she understood, but expressed a strong desire to talk without anger. She claimed to have spent the weekend alone, though I wasn't sure I believed her. Given everything that had happened and the pain she had caused, it was challenging to accept what she was saying. She went on to explain that she knew I couldn't forgive her for what she had done, but she loved me and would always be in love with me. She said she was angry with herself for hurting me so badly and for destroying the only man who had ever loved her unconditionally and had always been there for her. I was trying my best to maintain a stoic exterior, but my emotions were getting the better of me. My eyes welled up with tears, and I struggled to hold them back. I continued to listen as she offered justifications and reasons for her actions, detailing why she had engaged in the affair for so long, why she hadn't stopped herself, and even why she believed I might have been cheating on her for years. She mentioned feeling like I had traded her for pornography and how we had become mere roommates. Despite it all, she still claimed that I was the only man she wanted to spend her life with and that she had wanted to confess many times but believed I would never accept her back if she told me the truth. She repeatedly acknowledged that the blame was entirely hers and that I was not at fault for any of this. She mentioned plans to seek counseling to understand why she had acted this way for so long and to work on her issues. This conversation was incredibly challenging, and I was torn between my anger, hurt, and the history we had together. It was clear that our life together had been irrevocably altered by these revelations, and I had to grapple with what to do next. The conversation with my wife on that Sunday evening delved into some deeply personal and painful territory. It's clear that she was trying to explain her actions and the thoughts and emotions that led her down this path, which is common in situations like these. From her point of view, she felt that I didn't want her or a family, especially when I didn't want to adopt. She mentioned being angry because she believed I had always blamed her for our child losses, even though I had repeatedly assured her that I didn't. She felt that I was disgusted by her for so long because of those losses and that I couldn't let go of those negative feelings. She said that she had loved me enough for both of us during all those years when my parents' health declined. She believed I was using it as an excuse to be away from her. It all seemed to come together in her mind at once, leading her to the conclusion that I didn't really love her, and I had been lying all along. She spoke about the so-called gem guy not even being in the picture or a possibility until all these doubts and fears had taken hold of her. She admitted that she had never thought of being unfaithful until she felt neglected and misunderstood. She clarified that in the beginning, her involvement with him was somewhat emotionless, done out of spite. However, as time passed, she started to miss intimacy and grew a connection with him. She emphasized that it was never like what we shared. Towards the end of her explanation, she expressed her desire to find a path forward. She hoped that I could forgive her and that we could potentially take some time before making any final decisions, even if we eventually decided to part ways. She felt that I had been dishonest for many years about my feelings and should give her a chance to address this issue. In response to her plea, I couldn't help but express my frustration, breaking down and telling her that a year of cheating didn't deserve the chance she was asking for. I mentioned that I had worked through my fears and issues in therapy long ago, but I had never shared these thoughts with her before, fearing that it would lead to a situation just like the one we were in now. No matter how hard I tried in the past few years, she just wasn't responding to anything. All the things I was trying to do to reach out, be more engaged, more romantic, more connected, it felt like I tried once or twice, but she never put in much effort. I figured opening up my deepest secret with her could bring us closer and show her that I just wanted her. But instead, she used it against me to cheat and destroy my life. I was so destroyed that I was thinking of ending my agony almost daily. She said she had been thinking of doing the same but couldn't do that to me. I admit I screamed at her then and said, "But you can do this to me for a year?" But I calmed back down and said that I could never see being open and vulnerable to her or anyone else ever again. Now that I know how she weaponized my fears, weakness, and honesty against me, I would never be the same person. I had feared this was a catalyst after thinking about everything last week about how and when it happened, according to her. But I'm still not sure I believe her that she had not done this before. I was already about 45 minutes later than I had planned to leave. I knew I would have to rush up the highway and wasn't nearly in a correct state of mind. But I left soon after saying I would think some more about what she said, and if I had questions or more to say, I would call her from the road. But while driving, all I could do was play some really loud music and cry in excruciating pain. My thoughts of ending my agony were confirmed. It was an even more painful ride than the first one I took after D-Day. I didn't call her again in the end, but now that I'm sitting here in the sobering light of day, I wonder about how I not only caused this, but also if there's even the slightest possibility that she's seen my posts and is using them against me. To be honest, she has no real social media usage, and I doubt she even uses Reddit at all. It was never on her phone, tablet, or in her download history in the App Store. Also, how could I be so stupid to let my guard down with anyone? Some things you just can't ever share, and if I had never opened up, I wouldn't be here. This is only karma since I was at the point of leaving by last fall anyway. I'm just moving on autopilot anymore, and this only proves I should just put up the front to everyone that I'm this happy guy and never let my guard down again. Everything I had, I ruined. I'm still having my attorney consult, and I'm trying to keep the path, since I still don't know how I can come back to her after this. But the truth is, she just tore my heart open again and ripped everything I had been holding onto to keep me going. So, I've worked out a list of things I want to know from my therapists and other suggestions. I think I've nailed it down to just these questions. If I missed something, I'm open to input. Note that my therapist says I should limit my time here, but clearly, I'm not doing well at following any advice. I've also decided that if it takes it, I will act like I'm offering reconciliation to get answers. To be honest, I just want the last nail in the coffin. I need to keep feeling more pain to keep pushing me. It's manipulative, but whatever. But since I'm going to let her know today that I have retained an attorney and she needs to also, I think saying if she wants a chance, I need to know these things. I guess I'm also asking, should I give her these questions, or should we actually meet again to ask them? Anyway, here goes what I have. When you first decided to cheat, were you already emotionally or inappropriately involved with this person? When and where was your first inappropriate contact, and what exactly happened? When exactly was your last contact with them, and what happened? Did you ever picture a better future with them? Did you discuss me specifically and my shortcomings? Was intentional disrespect for me a part of your intimate acts or communications? If so, was it initiated by you or them? Did you feel you were getting revenge on me for things I did or did not do? Do you resent me for specific reasons? What exactly are they, and how long have you felt that way? When you thought of me possibly finding out, how did you think it would play out? Do you regret having met me and our life together? I don't expect actual full honesty. Not really. I don't even know that she really cares, nor has for however long. I have ignored her texts and calls for a few days now, so I don't know when or how we will have this conversation. But I guess since I'm pretty much out the door, I need her to sink the dagger in as far as possible to close out this chapter fully. Good news is my parent has been in a care facility for a bit over a month now, and they seem to be adjusting pretty well. I visit often, and they are generally happy to see me and still recognize me most of the time. I've also packed and sold all of our stuff, and I'm hoping to complete the real estate transaction this week. I have a better place to stay for the short term with a friend who lives close to work, and I've moved in for the time being. I considered renting an apartment right away, but this worked well in the short term. Now, on to the rest of it. I did have her served with divorce papers, but she had her attorney respond in a contentious manner. Very recently, I had to deal with a maintenance issue at my old home, luckily not too damaging but significant enough that it had to be handled quickly. When I arrived to deal with it, I thought she was not around. I met with the contractor and handled this, and I was hoping to be out before she returned. It did take several hours, but I was able to move stuff out of the way and get the issue fixed. Well, of course, my luck could not be that good. I got a call from a doctor later the day that she had been admitted to the hospital. I am still her emergency contact and still her husband, so it wasn't a real surprise. Sometime before I had come over, she had called an ambulance believing she was having a heart attack. This proved to be a panic attack, but as told to me, she told them she was having constant self-harming thoughts and was admitted for observation. She had been in there ever since. So, I had to call her boss and let them know she would be out for medical reasons for a while. After speaking with the doctor, I determined that I would have to go and see her. Her doctor said I was allowed to visit since she requested it, but told me that if I did, I would need to be non-confrontational since she was still in a delicate state. I was in a very confused state of my own since I really didn't want to, as it sounded like standard cheater script BS. But I still care for her and don't actually want her to harm herself and not be able to take care of herself going forward. She has, in the past, due to totally unrelated issues, been in care for mental health a lot of years ago, along with another chronic health issue all her life. During that time, I was there 100% and did everything I could to bring her back from the brink. Also, selfishly, I don't want it to affect her ability to handle our business together. I was able to speak with my friend about it, and they said it's, of course, up to me what to do about visiting her. I also spoke with my attorney after the first couple of visits, and they just stated to be cautious not to make any promises or statements that could be used against me, etc. I knew before visiting that this is also kind of standard for cheaters to use suicidal manipulation. By considering her history, I am also aware that this is a very likely true and serious state that she is in. I know I shouldn't be sucked in by anything that is just a consequence of her actions. I just have a part of me that needs to be there for her. It sucks totally that I have these feelings and still wish none of this had happened, but it did. I feel like I've been very firm with her, but seeing her in such a state would likely cause setbacks. Before you jump on my case, I cannot abandon her, it's just not in me. She really has no one else, her only real friend lives far away and is currently dealing with her own serious medical condition. So, I let her doctor know I would visit her in the hospital and did so the following day. When I got there, she was a mess. I had brought some things she would likely need, as it sounded like she would be there for at least a few days. When I arrived, she was still sleeping with N4 in her and various monitors, none of which seemed mental health related, but I figured maybe dehydration or something. All I could think was how I had seen her sleep so many times and how she always looked beautiful sleeping, like the person I wanted, and so peaceful. As I was just sitting there for a long while, watching her, she started to wake up, and all the feelings of anger and betrayal started to come back. But I held it together. She finally woke up, surprised to see me there. She begged me for a hug and forgiveness, etc. I said I was there to make sure she was okay, that I was worried about her, but I wasn't there to talk about us. We were pretty civil about the whole thing, but there were lots of tears on her side. We talked for a long time. Then she hit me with another noob to my world. During her visit to the gynecologist for STD tests and a checkup, they found something that was still being assessed. I thought, oh boy, here we go, this crazy situation just got even crazier. I was prepared to hear about an STD, but fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, that wasn't the case. She was found to have fairly aggressive ovarian cancer. Now, I'm no expert, but I know that usually that type of cancer is like a death sentence. I actually had to step out of the room to gather myself for a minute. I had all these emotions going through me, and I didn't want her to see them. I composed myself and went back in, and we talked for a long time. In our conversation, I eventually agreed to help her however I can, though I wanted to tell her to get her boyfriend to take care of her now. But I made it clear that my willingness to help had nothing to do with us being together. I thought she would do the same for me if the situation were reversed, but who knows? Her panic attack, it turns out, was a result of getting this news, her birthday, which I totally ignored, and getting served divorce papers in the same week. It's like the perfect storm hit her life, too much karma maybe, and she was just feeling like ending her life would be easier than fighting me and this disease alone. Losing everything and now losing her life on top of that. She also didn't want me to somehow end up bankrupt from her medical debt. I'm trying to navigate this incredibly complicated situation the best I can, even though it feels like the ground has been pulled out from under me. I've been constantly on the move, riding up and down the highways for work, visiting my parent in the hospital, staying at my friend's place, and going back to my old home to get more of her things that she needed. She has been moved to a regular room since her doctors have determined she is no longer a danger to herself. She's had more testing done, and today we're getting the results that will tell us the exact stage of her cancer. From the preliminary exams, it's at least stage 2B or higher, but there's a chance it's not stage 4, which is something we can handle. If it's stage 4, it's going to be a tough road with a shortened but terrible ending. I'm currently sitting in the hospital cafeteria, waiting for the oncology department to give us more results and details. I've always been the type to do anything for anyone, and despite her actions driving me away, I'm still being strong for both of us and trying to stay optimistic, which goes against my natural pessimistic nature. The biggest thing likely to happen, if it's not a lost cause, is that she will likely have major emergency surgery and undergo chemotherapy. After that, she will need care and help. I've agreed to be there to help her get through at least the surgery, chemo, and recovery. If it's the best case scenario, I haven't explicitly told her, but it hasn't changed my mind about divorce. I've talked to my lawyer about what it all means, and if we can still be considered separated at this time, which they say we can consider this period in-house separation as long as certain things don't happen, which would be impossible anyway. My other question is how I can avoid incurring part of her medical debt from this, as it's likely to delay our divorce proceedings. They stated we can amend our settlement agreement, but that she would need to agree that none of this is my liability. So, is there any chance I can take care of her through this without getting emotionally connected again and still move on with my life, however this comes to an end? For those still interested, we met with the doctors, and it's at stage 2B. It has spread, but the tumors are still small and haven't reached the bladder or farther organs like the liver, which, to my understanding, is almost impossible to cure. She will have serious surgeries and chemo. I had already decided that I would support her in her battle, regardless of her actions. I'm not going to leave her to her fate without some support. I know most will say that's not my job anymore, but I guess I'm not able to be that hardened person I initially thought I could be. Oh well, I'm too old to care what people think, and I'm doing it for me. I will continue with the separation and divorce. Unfortunately, I will likely be moving back in for in-house separation to help her for a while. I've talked with my attorney about the plan, and my lawyer understands my stance. They say we can continue counting any time I'm there as separated, as long as we don't sleep together, which isn't a problem for many reasons. Also, we need to agree that she doesn't make it more difficult, as it seemed her original plan was. I will make sure she understands that the condition of my support is that she doesn't contest and drag the process out. But I will agree to give her time to get better situated. I admit I will feel guilty, as if I am bargaining with her life, but I guess we all have our limits. She will be having surgery in the next few days for additional biopsies and major surgery. The treatment plan so far is really aggressive, but it's better to stop the spread now. But I guess I don't need more details than that. In all likelihood, as my post title states, for cheating has saved her life, as she would likely have caught this too late otherwise. So I guess someone in this situation gets a win. I appreciate all the comments and advice. I know the place it comes from is supportive, but I also know the choices are mine to make. I just want this part of my life to happen and eventually end. I know I can't keep feeling obligated to anyone besides my parent after this, though attachments only seem to bring pain. But I guess in the end, it's my fault for getting attached in the first place. I do plan to continue with the divorce, though it will not be happening anytime in the near future. Our separation will continue even when I have to move back in to help her. I felt like it's the right thing to do, but I'm getting worried I'm getting in over my head, or that I will get sucked back in, or that I won't be able to be as kind as I think if I get frustrated. I find myself in an incredibly challenging situation, and it's hard to express just how complex and difficult it all is. I have a tendency to be a white knight for the people I value in my life, but I must admit that I don't truly value her anymore. At best, I value what we had, but now I feel kind of stuck, agreeing to something I probably wasn't emotionally ready for. However, I'm a man of my word, and I'll need to find a way to navigate this while maintaining my sanity. If I were religious, I might ask for prayers, but I don't even think I deserve them, considering I'm going back into a hell of my own making. I'm currently in the hospital with my wayward wife since yesterday morning, and it's been as tough as the rest of the things that have happened. Firstly, she's in a terrible state. She coded in surgery, which had to be stopped because of uncontrollable blood pressure, and they removed a lot of the cancer, but not all. Further surgery is too risky at this point. She also had a seizure last night, causing additional damage and hemorrhaging, which led to another emergency surgery. She got out of that surgery earlier this morning but has been in and out of consciousness. They are doing everything possible to prevent a stroke. I'm not sure she's going to make it, and I'm going on no sleep for 2 days, imagining the worst. It's a very touchy situation, and I'm just hoping for the best. Additionally, while waiting for her initial surgery, I used her work phone and saw a message from her affair partner from about a week ago, from an unrecognized number. I had noticed that she had blocked his other number on her phone but kept their conversation. In it, he was asking how she was and apologizing for how he treated her the last time they saw each other. I won't get into all the details, but it's a complicated situation that happened after I tracked him down and was about to do something reckless. This caused him to reach out to her, and they met as a result. This was almost a month ago. I did see her response to him, where she said he was the biggest mistake of her life, that she hated herself for even meeting him, and that she would never be in touch or see him again. She also asked him not to contact her for the safety of all involved. I don't take this as definitive proof of anything, especially since she never admitted it to me. I had the opportunity to go through pretty much everything, including her work emails and personal accounts, and I looked back pretty far, even before last year, and found nothing suspicious before then. However, this doesn't change my mind about anything divorce or helping her. So, I guess I'm just ranting because everything is so messed up right now. She may live or die without ever knowing that I know this, and it only serves to remind me that she's still capable of lying to me. I don't even know if we will ever have the chance to talk about it. I guess it really doesn't matter at this point. Either way, I may be done. Because nothing else really matters if she's not alive or has some brain damage or is in a worse state than expected. I also do what I can for her and hope for the best, but in my nature, I expect the worst. The best I can hope for is to get some actual sleep before the week's end. I know I need to rest, but I can't even nod off while waiting here in her room. I'm going to have to go see my parents soon since it's been a few days, but I'm worried that if I leave, I won't be here if something happens. I'm just fueling myself with coffee and anxiety right now because I didn't bring my meds with me for more than yesterday's dose. Hopefully, tonight will be better, and she will stabilize more so I can at least get my meds and maybe some sleep. But I can't imagine not being here if something worse happens. The fear and uncertainty are overwhelming, and it feels like my world is crumbling around me. Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please consider subscribing our channel as it helps and motivates us to continue our work.